Good morning, Beaverines. I think we live here. Good morning, nation. We 5x5. That means can y'all see me? Can y'all hear me, son? Can you see me? Can you hear me? I'm jacked up on caffeine up in here. Thank y'all. Thank you, Gen X Prepper. Good morning. It is hump day. Thank you for bringing that up, Paradise Acres. You've been married as long as me, you forget. So anyway, thank y'all for being here this hump day. It is appreciated. Please consider subscribing to the channel. I already got to deal with YouTube being shady all the time. Hitting subscribe does help. It takes 2 seconds. You get alerts and yada yada and community posts and all that stuff. Country Heat was first in the morning. So congrats on that. First here in the lobby. Country Heat on a hump day. I don't know. The stars are lining up here, son. So we're going to be talking this morning about all kinds of stuff. Miss Nation's got something going on here at Ponderosa that's saving us money. So stick around. We're going to talk about that here in a little while. I wasn't a fan of it at first, but I see how much money it's saving. So now I'm a fan. But we got to start with 2 reasons why America is in serious trouble. Like there are more than 2 reasons, obviously. But I came away with 2 things when I was watching yes, folks, I watched the State of the Union address. Full disclosure, the last 10 minutes, I had taken some nighttime. My wife gave me some nighttime because I wasn't feeling great, and I was like this right here. But I went back this morning and watched the last 10 minutes. I'm a dedicated beaver over here, son. So 2 reasons that we are in trouble. The first reason, and I'm talking about the United States, is Joe Biden actually believes the stuff that he's spouting off. He's not saying stuff just randomly out of thin air. This guy truly believes the stuff that he's saying. I don't know how many other people believe it, but Joe Biden's a believer. I mean, he's drank his own Kool-Aid. So I'm going to go just through, I got bullet points here that I wrote down last night. So starting with the middle class is doing well. Joe Biden actually said this last night. The middle class in this country is doing well, far better than previous administrations. He is a jobs president. The middle class is booming right now. Anybody that's middle class or formerly known as middle class knows better. We're getting killed with inflation. We're getting killed with all kinds of bills and stuff. But he believes the middle class, he really does, that it's thriving. He said we had the fastest growing economy in the last 40 years. I would dispute that. I can remember better times, economically speaking, but Joe don't want to hear it. Joe, again, he believes this. I think what's going on with Joe Biden truly is he's surrounded by people that are gaslighting him, and he actually doesn't know what's going on. This is what I picked up from last night. He goes on to say the Inflation Reduction Act that he signed into law is working. It's working. The inflation that you're seeing right now is part of the rebuilding process, if you will. It's working, folks. Good news. If you are to believe lie number 3, Big T says, if you're to believe Joe Biden, everything's going according to plan. This is a literal quote from this man after he got done talking about the Inflation Reduction Act. You can sleep better and more secure at night. That's a direct quote. People can lay their heads down at night and sleep better and know that they're more secure in Joe's America as opposed to administrations over the last 40 years. Because again, this man's a jobs president. His plan moving forward, because he announced he wants to fund all of these projects, okay? And he goes on to say, if you make less than $400,000 a year, that's most of Americans, I think, unless I'm just living the poor man's life over here. Most of us, I think, make less than that. He says, you're not going to pay 1 extra penny. He pointed to the camera and said it. So if you had that on the bingo card, hey, you checking that off. We hit bingo like 17 different times. Not 1 extra penny you're going to pay. His plan is to tax the top 55 companies in the country, the ones that are worth the most money. So I got to dispute this because, as someone who paid taxes last year and who's getting ready to pay taxes again, this is a bald-faced lie. Not only is this a bald-faced lie, but I happen to think that inflation is a form of taxation. When you break it down, I mean, you're paying more for the same thing. What's the difference between 5 or 6% sales tax, 5 and 6% inflation? To me, it's all a tax as a consumer. I don't care how you dress it up. So no, I'm not laying down more secure at night because of that. I'm laying down more secure because we've got good locks on the doors. We've got longer screws, in the kick panels. We've got guns and things like this. But this is just my opinion. Tie time. Thank y'all. I'm going with the Angry Beaver this morning, and I had no idea it was hump day. I'm telling you, it's all lining up. It's all lining up. If my old lady's watching this, remember we were talking about calling women old ladies yesterday. If she's out there watching, it's all lining up, baby. So he goes on to say, he's all over the place. As he's reading off the teleprompter like out of a little golden book, you can tell the speech writers have him jump in from one topic every 30 seconds to y'all thought I ramble over here. Oh no. Go back and watch this last night. So he goes on to say that national sovereignty here in the United States is being protected. He actually threatened China, sort of. And he said that they would not threaten our national sovereignty, or they're going to be dealt with in the same way that he downed the balloon. And I'm paraphrasing what he said there, but he was taking a tough stance against China all of a sudden. They sent a balloon over here. You see what happened. Well, yeah, Joe, it crossed the entire country, made it to South Carolina over the ocean before you took it down. But yeah, you did take it down. I'll give you credit where credit is due. But as he's saying this, I'm thinking, what about the national sovereignty at the southern border, Joe? There was no talk about that other than him saying the border's secure, which we'll get to. And then he goes on to say, tyranny will not be tolerated in this country. And people are chanting USA, USA, to his credit. And I said, what about the medical tyranny that took place during the pandemic, Joe? I would argue there was some medical tyranny happening, son, but everybody forgets this. Now, all of a sudden, we're not dealing with tyrants anymore, even though we've got one speaking to us. I think it was like an hour and 5 minutes, man. Yeah, they did, Mike McConnell. Just to get sidetracked for a second, I need to mention that Russia is expecting, now this number is coming from Ukraine, expecting with the spring offensive to have activated 500,000 troops because they're fully mobilizing. China's doing the same thing now. Thank you for bringing that up, Mike. Joe goes on to say that under him, medication has become affordable. And I was under the influence of medication at that time because, again, Miss Nation done gave it to me, son. She's like, here, this will help you sleep. And even I knew it was a lie. Medication has become affordable under me. Almost every single person I talk to here at Prepper Nation, unless everybody's lying to me, they say we can't find insulin. We can't afford insulin. We can't afford heart medication. We can't afford this. We can't afford this right now. It's went up 300%. It's went up 400%. EpiPens are unaffordable. But no, Joe doesn't see it. Joe thinks everybody's paying $10 for a prescription, apparently. He says, finish the job like 50 times last night. And I'm like, what job, Joe? Unless you were talking about dismantling the United States of America from the inside out, what job are you referring to? You cannot pander to a crowd because a lot of your voters don't work, Joe. They don't understand what finish the job means, son. They think that work boots are to be worn by models in a GQ magazine. They don't understand, Joe. You got to break it down a little bit more for them, okay? So he goes on to say that he believes our borders are already secure. This was one of the key moments of the night for me because the cameras immediately went to Ted Cruz. Ted Cruz is over there like shaking his head. He can't even believe what he's hearing right now. And I'm sure a lot of other Republicans were saying the same things. A few of them, the younger congresswomen, they were shouting liar at this point when he's saying this. He believes that we need to ban pistols. He brought the parents of the young man that was just killed last week by the police. This somehow turns into gun control, during Joe's speech. And as he calls them assault weapons, and he goes in on pistols, and then he starts shouting, we need more common sense gun control, as he called it. But yeah, pistols are now assault weapons in Joe's eyes. He goes on to say that VA hospitals on his watch are doing an incredible job. There's no issues with the VA hospitals now. Veterans are being taken care of under Joe's watch. I would dispute that. Teachers need a raise, Joe says, because our education system is doing such a great job right now. He makes the case for free community college, of course. That's a talking point on the left, but I can't wait to go back and read this chat. Yeah, our education system's doing so great right now. And I do think teachers deserve a raise, but I think that they should be allowed to teach and not just, recite propaganda and stuff like this. They should actually be able to teach, not have to play social worker in the whole 9 yard, okay? In Joe's own mind, America has never been better. He really believes the stuff he was spouting off last night. Like, he was saying it with such passion. I said, oh, God, it's one thing to be lied to and gaslit, but this guy actually believes it. He's a zealot for this stuff. Of course, he called it global warming a couple of times, and then he switched it over all of a sudden to climate change. He actually got laughed at one point because he was saying, we need to eliminate oil companies because of climate change. We got to get rid of them now, son. But he didn't say son. And in the very next sentence, he's talking about how oil companies got rich, and he's sat down with them and he's tried to explain to them, we're going to need you for 10 years or so. So you'll have money. You'll have plenty of money. And people were laughing. They're like, what is this guy talking about? He just said we need to get rid of them. Now he's saying they're going to be around for 10 years or longer. It was crazy. So that's the first reason that I think we're in trouble, is because Joe actually believes what he's saying, and he's going to hit it as hard as he can here on this hump day. He's going to go at it as hard as he can. The second reason that America is in serious, serious trouble is Joe Biden is 80 years old, and it was showing last night. Now he had flashes in there where he was shouting at China at one point. He was getting into gun control at one point, and he seemed coherent. He seemed like he was all there. But he's 80 years old, and you could really tell this guy was 80 years old last night when he was tripping up on words and just getting really lost on the teleprompter and stuff. And I don't think a second term is coming. I don't think a second term is possible with this man. That's a problem, because as I watched the two behind him last night, so Kamala Harris was over here. I didn't realize how short she was compared to McCarthy. McCarthy's sitting up here like this. Kamala Harris, they should have put her on some pillows. My poor, God rest her soul, my grandma used to have to sit on pillows when she was driving a car. They need to put her on pillows. She's short. But anyway, I'm not short shaming nobody. Please don't get me, Katrinka. Please don't get me. I'm not short shaming, but I just didn't realize how short this lady was. You could see it in both of their faces, right? They're just waiting for the moment that Joe Biden either steps down or something happens, because they're waiting for their chance to run the United States of America. And this is a problem. I think that our Congress, most of them, are more worried about their own political standing when that time comes. They're more worried about that than they are helping the American people. I really do. That's the vibe I got last night. Now, until next November, is going to be very painful. Straight up. Very, very painful. We'll get to the poll in a second, but if Joe Biden's not going to run again, What do we have to look forward to? Who's going to announce that they're throwing their hat into the ring for the left? I mean, this thing is about to get out of control, I think. Um, but the bottom line is Joe is not going to fix the problems that he doesn't know exist. You know, he's not been to the border enough. He doesn't realize that's an issue. He's totally shielded and surrounded by people that are telling him, Joe, the border's fine. Republicans are making this up. It's fine. Joe knows that there's some inflation because he blamed the pandemic and Putin specifically last night. So you can mark that off the bingo card. But he doesn't realize how bad it is. He really does think the middle class is thriving, and it's because he's surrounded by people that are telling him, "No, everything's fine, Joe. America's not burning down, Joe." This guy is disconnected from the reality of the United States of America right now. Um, so I don't know. I mean, he was booed last night several times. After the first time, McCarthy was actually looking at the Republicans saying, "Shh, we don't want to do this." He was called a liar twice, once on Social Security and Medicare when he said Republicans were trying to do away with it entirely. He was being shouted at and called a liar, and then a second time with the border. Um, it's just total chaos and disarray here in the United States. That's the state of the union. Total chaos right now. And we have a guy running the country that I don't think realizes all of that chaos is there. I don't know if he's just watching CNN 24/7 or his advisors, his generals are probably telling him, "Oh, we're in the best shape we've ever been, Joe, militarily speaking." His cabinet's probably telling him the economy's great. A bunch of yes men and a bunch of yes women. Oh, yes, the economy's doing great. Yes, education system is flourishing, Joe. Everything's great. But if you step out of that bubble and you come down to our level where us peons live, you'll see the truth. And the truth is this place is a madhouse here in 2023. So anyway, who is in the house this morning? I see Mark Wilson, Hunter Moon, Paradise Acres again. What's up, Jackie? What's going on? Mr. Durden, good morning. I can't wait to go back in and read the chat on this one today. Minute Man, what's happening? Michael G, good morning. Amelia, Jacob S, here we go. Gary, good morning. Steph L, Jessica G, Queen Essence, what's happening? Fast Eddie, moderators, Bama Jan and the moderators, thank you very much for everything that you do. Scottish McBean is in the house. What's going on, brother? Independent Marine, how you doing, man? How you doing? Living life. Good morning. We are the Resistance. Chewbacca. I should be on there tonight, Chewbacca. I had to take one for the team last night. Melissa Dodd, good morning. Misty, whoop, there it is. Oh Lord, here we go with the 90s music. Long Dog Tea, Papa's Farm. So let me get on the poll real quick on this hump day. Oh, so many. What was your favorite State of the Union moment last night? 6% of you said Senator Cinema's dress. If you have not seen this dress, pull up a picture. It looks like something on Star Trek. It was bright yellow. My wife came in the living room and she said, "Oh my God, that dress is hideous." And she just kept walking through to my daughter's room. 8% Paul Pelosi as a blues brother. I think he was hanging with Bono or something in the crowd. He had his Blues Brothers hat on. It's hilarious. Nancy was there. Nancy's not dead, folks. She's still there. I saw her out in the crowd. 82% of you say Joe being called a liar. Yes, that was epic. The first time he ignored it, the second time it tripped him up and he started going back and forth with Republicans. 5% say Kamala Harris is 9,000 standing ovations. Every time this man said anything, she's standing up. And she's a liar because he may be shielded. He may not realize this stuff is going on, but she knows. She knows this stuff is going on. She's coherent enough, and she's an accessory to the crime at this point. MTG, yeah, she was the one, Paradise Acres, yelling liar. And I think the second time, Lauren Boebert got in on it as well. And that's when McCarthy's like, shh, there's going to be another insurrection, but a real one this time, I think. And he's like, no, son. It took a lot of fortitude last night. I was already sick. Thank you, Duchess, but I was already sick. What was it going to do to me at that point? Oh, man. Vampires never die. It's funny you mentioned that. I'm going to show y'all some mail, and then I'm going to tell you about some stuff we got going on here at the Ponderosa, okay? Funny you mentioned vampires. So this is from Jacob. This is awesome. He posted one that's very similar on Facebook, but I will be wearing this in the near future, sir. I appreciate that. And then Matt sent over a couple of things here. If I can reach them, good Lord. If I can't reach them, something's wrong. And he literally said, since people say your show is not scary enough, he sent over a whole pack of the vampire teeth. I guess he had heard me talking about vampire teeth. So expect those at some point. I don't know when. And he sent over a tie, and he said, you know, in lieu of the fact that we're in World War III, here's a military tie. So thank you for that, brother. I appreciate that. So that's all the mail that I have. I got to tell you how we've been saving money. And when I say we, I mean the wife. She deserves all the credit. So meal planning. We have this new thing going on now. We've been doing it for about a week and a half. My wife will sit down at the beginning of the week. She plans out all the dinners, like everything that we're having for dinner. And at first, I didn't like this concept because I don't like things planned out for me ahead of time. I don't like to wake up knowing what I'm going to have for dinner that night. It's kind of weird. But she's doing this to see how much money we could, you know, save and stuff like this. And we went to Aldi this week. I think I told y'all that. We went to Aldi and got the stuff. And I get it. People are going to say preppers shouldn't have to go to the grocery store and shop, but we're pulling stuff off the pantry shelf and we're replacing it, okay? So she's actually been able to cut out roughly $100 a week by doing this because we're not doing a whole lot of impulse buying. You know, there's not a whole lot of going into the store. You know how it is. You go into a grocery store for 2 or 3 things in your head, and then you end up buying 10 or 11 more things that you really didn't plan on buying. She's been surgical about this stuff. Like, she is not buying it. If it's not included in that meal, she is absolutely not buying it. She's made a few other changes, like the kids' lunches, for example. My son, especially, he likes the Uncrustables. No, he's taking peanut butter and jelly sandwiches now. She said, if you don't like the crust, don't eat it. So we're scaling back on some of that stuff. But now, Kid Coleman, thank you, and welcome to the War Daddies. But thank you, and she's going to try and shave off. I don't know that she can do it. I'm cheering for it, but I don't know that she can do it. She's going to try and shave off another $50. She says, you know, cutting, I guess, a couple of the store brands out to more generic brands and stuff. She thinks she can do it at Aldi at least, but we'll see. So it is saving a little money. It's not a ton of money, but right now, any little bit of money is helping. You know what I'm saying? So we're shaving it off. If you don't do it, consider doing it just to see if you can save a little money. Sunflower Sue says, I plan meals monthly. We have saved a lot of money by doing this. And she's putting it on the refrigerator because I was raising Cain. I thought we were having tacos last night. No, we're having them tomorrow night, Thursday. And I said, what is this, man? It's supposed to be on Tuesday. Rapture Ready. I love that name. Same here, Ink Scars. We have found a few brands that were better than the high dollar brands. Really the only thing that we bought this time around outside of the meal planning stuff was bouillon and beef and chicken stock and stuff. Every night should be taco night. I don't know about that. Nostra, I don't know about that, man. Dynamite. I must confess, I didn't watch last night. Hey, man, I wish I wouldn't have had to watch it. I was playing the game. Thank you, Kevin Powson, for taking one for the team. Well, I appreciate that, but I wasn't alone. Several people on Patreon and the coffee club, because we posted the bingo card, they said, "Hey, we're watching it too." A couple of people said they got bingo, like we were able to guess bingo. Um, Spaghetti. Well, there's nothing furry treat well or nothing wrong with spaghetti. It's cheap. It feeds a lot of people. Um, that's what we do here for years. Plus, never go to the grocery store hungry. Yes, Independent Marine. Yes, I've made that mistake a few times. I've never had white collar prepping. I've never had taco spaghetti. I've never even heard of that. We have I've eaten taco pie. It's like almost made like a hot tamale pie or something, but I've never had taco spaghetti. Sherry, has anyone else had military choppers flying over their property? So tired of them. Thank you. Thank you for that, Sherry. Few people on Facebook have said that they've seen a huge uptick in military traffic. It's to be expected. Again, getting back to Russia now that number comes from Ukraine. So the 500,000 troops is probably a very highball estimate, because they're probably going to pander for more, send us more stuff. We're fighting 500,000 troops now. It's probably not that many coming from Russia. Um, but it's a significant number, whatever it is, be it 300,000. They're fully mobilizing. And China now is fully mobilizing as well. Amelia says, "What's up with China?" Uh, no real idea other than they're mobilizing. I think they understand the situation. There's no turning back from a World War III at this point. Um, Lady Gardenia says yes on the helicopters. They're seeing them as well. We don't, yeah, Kelly, we don't have any stores called Freddy's around here that I'm aware of anyway. Food cities are big around here. And then there'll be an Aldi every so often in a Food Line. Some people don't even know what Food Lines are, I think. Um, I'm the Terrible says Southern Prepper One taped 3 helicopters flying by his property. I mean, and this is, I don't want to say this is a bad sign. This is just the U.S. military. I would be worried if they weren't flying, to be honest with you, and they weren't getting ready for something, because it never hurts. Y'all know as preppers, it never hurts to prepare for the worst case scenario. So the U.S. military right now, I promise you, they're wargaming situations. They should be, unless they're total idiots. Wargaming different situations. And every one of those situations is going to depend on military hardware being ready. We were talking yesterday about the DEFCON levels and stuff. That's more of a military thing. Again, you should just be preparing business as usual either way, whatever the DEFCON level is. We ever reach one, again, you'll know it. But our issue is going to be boots on the ground. We don't have enough people. We don't have enough military enlisted right now. And we should be up here with the enlisted, and we're way down here somewhere. I mean, it's not even close to being enough for a full blown war, because we're used to fighting these conflicts and sending 2,000 people at a time. 2,000. That's not going to fly in a world war. That's not going to be enough people to send. Good morning, Agorizer. All of the world is preparing. Yeah, Robert Winslow. All of the major players seem to be preparing. Okay, so Germany won't admit it, but they're mobilizing. They just, they sent some of the Leopard tanks. They've got more. I promise you, they're building more. Even Canada, to a degree, they're mobilizing. They're limited on what they can send, but even countries that are limited on what they can send to Ukraine, I think are still stockpiling stuff just in case there's an invasion on their home soil. And that's probably where Canada's at with it. That's where they need to be at with it. Good morning, Shorty. Always make a shopping list. Yeah, coastal artist. And like again, I forget what we're having tonight, actually. Tomorrow we're having tacos. Friday we're having breakfast. This is one of the things that my wife is going to try and shave off because we're going to have sausage links, biscuits, and gravy and eggs tomorrow, Friday night. So, and I think hash browns. So she's trying to shave, I think, some of the meat out because that's where a lot of the money was being spent. And plus, I think another thing, she won't admit this, but my son's always like, it makes her so mad. He'll get in a car after school, and his first question is always, "Mom, what's for dinner?" And she's like, "Son, I ain't even got home yet. What are you talking about? I just got off from work." So now she posts it so he can he can know ahead of time. Yeah, we're gonna be doing breakfast for dinner once a week. Apparently, for the foreseeable future. That's good, Tony. We may actually jump into that. That would eliminate some of the meat pancakes and stuff um, for dinner one night because those are cheap and we got tons of the mix over there already. Yeah, Robin, it hurt, didn't it, to sit down and watch that last night? What else do we have, folks? What do y'all want to talk about this morning while we are live and no technical problems going on? Omelets. I love omelets, Prepper Medic, when they're done right. I love omelets. The huge Texas size omelets. And I'm the only person in my house that likes them. Robin H, pizza isn't even worth ordering now. Very little on them. We have a pizza place that we go to here locally. It's a local, it's not like a chain one or anything. Still really good, but they've had they'll admit they've went up on their price because of inflation and stuff. And you know, you can't fault them for it. They gotta shop and buy the stuff like everybody else. We just don't go as often. Beaver for dinner, Jack Sutton says, well, it is hump day. I mean, so use your own discretion on that. Do you think that there will be a draft? Jeremy Single Knuckle, that's an excellent question. So, spring offensive is what I'm looking at right now. They're saying the spring offensive could be weeks away or potentially just a couple of months at the max. So they know that Ukraine, they know that Russia, they're going to be major offensives back and forth. I'm looking at that because if Russia starts to make a lot of ground, they start to conquer a lot, take a lot, and it's obvious that Ukraine at that point is getting the brakes beat off of them, so to speak. NATO is going to have to intervene. Otherwise, Ukraine will cease to exist, and they know it. NATO can't intervene because NATO is largely the United States, and the United States doesn't have the manpower. So if we have to intervene, you may see a draft. If we have to get involved in that way. On the flip side, if Ukraine is able to hold their ground against a major offensive from Russia, you may not see a draft. So I'm looking at that spring offensive. It's a really big deal. You know, are we going to be able to throw money and technology at it, or are we going to have to start throwing troops at it? Oh, Uncle Charlie must be saying something in the chat, hump day related. I see, I don't. Long Dog T says, I love breakfast pizza. I really don't. I don't like the breakfast pizzas, and I don't like the, some people like the pizzas that are got the sweets on them and stuff. I just like the straight up pizzas, man. Sven says they don't have the troops, the equipment, or the know-how. Right now, Ukraine is being pushed back a bit. Now it's taking a lot of Russian troops to do it, but this ain't even the offensive. And Ukraine is already struggling with what they're facing right now. For those that don't know, they're asking for combat jets, and now they want submarines as well. Ukraine, Germany, and the United States have both immediately said no on that. But we originally said no to tanks. and we kind of went back on that. So, um, thank you, Teresa. So we'll see. We'll see how the offensive plays out. I don't really want to I'm not in love with the idea of sending American soldiers over there. I've said this countless times. This is nothing against the Ukrainian people themselves. I just don't see drafting people in the United States, forcing them to enlist into the military and then sending them to somebody else's war. To me, this is not why the draft exists. The only situation where I'm okay with the draft is, hey, we've got parachutes falling out of the sky over our own soil. North Korean, Red Dawn style. You start to see that, okay, it's time to start drafting people up and fight back. Shaquille, on the bright side, if the draft happens, most people are so large and fluffy now, the bullets will bounce right off. So right now, as it stands, Shaquille, uh, not a lot of people would even qualify for military service because they're not in shape enough. But they're talking about kind of rearranging the rules, if you will, and that's not a good sign. Because a lot of these people, they're still not going to be fit enough to fight effectively. You know what I'm saying? I'm looking forward, Carrie. I'm looking forward. Sherry. Sorry, Sherry. I'm sitting here running my mouth. Can you approve me for Facebook? Yes. Give me a second so I don't forget. All right. And I'll take care of that for you. All right. Cannon fodder. I'm Tony, I hate to put it that way, but that's what it would be, at least early on until you have a more stabilized line, you know. The Russians have had to use soldiers for cannon fodder. At one point, the Ukrainians were doing the same thing when they were under siege heavily. And it's kind of stabilized now. Russia is starting to make gains, though. They're making strategic gains, and they're starting to cut Ukraine's main supply line off in some of the areas in the east. And so we're going to see an offensive. I think it's going to be in the east myself. Now, you may see a situation where the Russians hit in the east with a major offensive and then also come down from the north, from Belarus. And then, of course, you're going to have Zelensky saying, we need troops. We need everything. They're the 51st state at this point. You might as well go ahead. Lord Eagle, a true patriot will stand tall in front of the man with his or her hand in the air taking the pledge. I agree. I wonder how many people would do that, you know? How many people, what is it gonna look like if there's a draft? How many people, because that age group, we gotta be honest with ourselves, the age group that they're targeting, for military service, it don't look the same way it did in the 1940s. People were just tougher. I don't know how else to say it. I'm not trying to be mean to anybody, but people were tougher back in the day than they are now. You know, now if they lose their phone or they can't get a latte in the morning, their life is over, according to them. Back in the day, they were storming beaches. And of course, they were afraid when they were doing it, but they were doing it. And it's just not it's like night and day. I mean, what's it gonna look like even if we have a draft, even if we come up with the numbers? What is it gonna look like on the battlefield, with some of these people? Because you're not gonna have time if you're in a situation where you're drafting like that, you're not really gonna have time to extensively train these people. I mean, you're just gonna have to rush them through training and hope they do okay. Hope that numbers overwhelm. Hunter Moon, I think alcoholics will rage hard. Those folks, I'm thinking on them. Alcoholics in any situation, if they can't get alcohol, they become a factor. You know, if they're used to drinking every day heavily and they can't get it, they become a danger, you know, a liability. Jamie Gibbs, all of the social media links are down below in the video description. Another great question, Okikon. So if they draft someone, then can they force them to get the whiskey shot? I would think not. You know, um, I would think they would have a fight on their hands with certain people at least, because who wants to be told, "Hey, you're going to fight," and "Hey, you're going to get this, whether you like it or not." That don't sound like freedom to me, quite frankly. That's a great way of putting it. Jamie says, "Very little grit left in America." You know, people call it prepping, people call it homesteading, but there was a point in time in America when it was just called life. People naturally were preppers and homesteaders. That's the only life they knew. And convenience has stepped in, and convenience is awesome. Hey, man, I love a hot shower with the best of them, but it's also made us soft. Convenience has made this country soft. Technology has made this country soft. And now that we are a softer country, are we still going to be able to hold up like the World War II era United States? I don't know. I would think probably not. ABC Patriot, thank you. Men were tougher back in the day because there was no soy milk and no soy fillers and a lot of other things to boot. Thank you for that. But you're correct. Farmers do have grit. And there's still people out there that do have grit, not just farmers. I get back to truck drivers, man. Truck drivers you don't want to mess with. I'm telling you straight up. Every truck driver that I've ever met, man, they're a different breed, farmers. And again, there are people out there with grit, but are there enough to win a world war? That's the question. Kid Coleman, I appreciate the support for 9 months. Awesome. Thank you. Good times have made this country soft. Yeah. And, you know, soft men lead to hard times lead to, you know, uh, and we'll get away from the softness one way or another. Um, People, I think, forget what it's like to have to go through a world war, and sometimes they have to do it again. They have to be reminded. Robert Winslow, John, when I deployed, they would line us up in a gymnasium on base, and you might get 6 to 10 shots and immunizations. And I understand that, but those shots had been around for decades, and they've been fully tested, and they understood what the side effects were. This one, on the other hand, not so much. It's still what I would consider, and this is personal opinion, I'm not a scientist, I still think it's experimental, you know? And that's the best way to paint this thing, experimental. So we're still learning the side effects, and I'm not in love with the idea of lining people up and giving them a shot that we don't know for sure. I've heard that, Mama Rocks, I've heard that theory. Why do you think they wanna get rid of meat, less testosterone for our men and boys? And there are different theories about that. I don't think it has to do with, climate change like they claim. Um, Part of it is about controlling total control of the food supply. You know, Nicole Franco, thank you for the support for 7 months. Just want to say thanks for all you do. Thank you for being here. I appreciate that. Nature's Kid Coleman, thank you. Nature's way of weeding out the soft will come. We're almost there. We're almost there. I believe before we get to a situation where there's a draft, because our military is not stupid. They understand that a lot of people they draft are not even going to be capable of what they're going to be asked to do. They're going to use the carrot first. Uh, you're going to see huge incentives to join the military. You're going to see a lot of commercials on TV. They're going to play to people's patriotism although they've demonized it for the last 10 years, you're not supposed to be a patriot. They're going to play on patriotism. They're going to get as many people as they can to volunteer for this. And then if that's not enough, then they're going to look at a draft. How you doing, Denise Hatton? Good morning. Michael G. If we go to war, could we see a revolution here like Russia in World War One? Yes. Yes, you would see a communist revolution. I think I don't think it would be successful, but I think they would try it here. And, naturally, if you have a communist revolution, you're going to have nationalist revolution as well. So, yeah, that would be total chaos here at home. Rob, good morning. How are you doing, brother? Well, KWG podcast, I don't want to group everybody together. KWG is saying our military, except for special forces, is straight trash right now. I think there are a lot of good people in the military, even outside of special forces. It's for me, it's the leadership at the top. Right now, I have no faith in the leadership at the top. And how's the expression go? You can have 100 lions led by a sheep, and that 100 lions, they ain't gonna win. You know what I'm saying? Your leadership has got to be locked in tight, and they're really not. I've heard bad things about the eggs too. Chilo. It's one of those things where unless you have your own laboratory and you know about that kind of stuff, there's no way to prove it because there's information on both sides. I'm not always right, Paul. I'm not. Trust me, my wife will tell you I'm not always right, man. I thought, to be honest with you, I thought the pandemic was going to be officially over 6 or 7 months before Joe Biden said, "Hey, we're out of it." That sort of thing. They kind of dragged it on for a long time. Um, Slee Stack, draft the illegals like Civil War. I am one of these people that I think if somebody comes here illegally, they should be given the choice. Okay, either we're going to take you and we're going to relocate you back to a country in South America, Latin America, somewhere, and just drop you off randomly to teach you a lesson after you do a year in prison, or you can sign up for 3 years of military service. And then when you get out of military service, then you can become a citizen that way. I think that military service is a great way to fast track someone becoming a citizen here. But I've had enough of the moochers coming in that hate this country. And Al says, "Oh, they will jab you. All right, no choice." Well, that's disputable. Some people that ain't gonna fly with that. Miss Jackson, North Carolina. I enjoy your show and appreciate your info. Thank you. Thank you for being here. Yeah, Windflower, but you must read and speak English prior to enlisting. That's something else that bothers me, and I don't want to come off as rude about it, but I would not move to another country without learning at least a basic version of the native language there. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to move to France and not know how to speak French. I'm not moving to France anyway, but I'm just saying, um, why would you do that? You know, why would you go and then expect them to cater to you? It just it can make you upset when you sit and think about it, you know. You kick down a fence, you just walk through the desert. Hey, look, we're in El Paso all of a sudden. Now give me everything. Now see Amelia's dropping French in here. Come on, Amelia. Why you go flex like that on me? Oh yeah. Yeah, we're in the ditch now. Carrie's throwing out heels up Harris. It must be about that time. Oh man. Please don't give him any ideas, Robin. Robin's saying, switch over to rainbow colored camo. Please don't give him any ideas because the people at the top of the food chain in the military, they're stupid enough to do that right now, and think that that's a good idea. Uh, Maybe, I hope not. Slee Stack says it would go to nukes before we need a draft. I would hope not, because there's no good outcome. With nukes, there's just no good outcome. I don't know that I have Lost and Found. Have you seen the documentary called Europe: The Last Battle? I'm not sure that I have. I'm all about some World War II documentaries and World War One. I like the trench warfare. I like studying about the trench warfare and stuff like that. But they're saying right now, Russia and Ukraine is we were talking about yesterday, a mixture of trench warfare, very World War One ish, but with technology. They've got these underground bunkers and rooms filled with computer screens, and people are deploying drones back and forth and dropping bombs and that sort of thing. Take our rainbow back. Yes, Kelly, there you go. That would make an excellent video, by the way. ABC Patriot says rainbow camo. Well, they would stick out in the woods. I mean, for sure. Yeah, 1 second after we were talking about that earlier, China is in full mobilization, which means they're starting in March 1st. But what full mobilization means, okay, is they're conscripting people, to fight, but also a lot of the factories that make other things, they're going to be retrofitted to make stuff the military would need. So there's a huge push for military buildup all of the sudden. Russia has been doing this for some time now. Ukraine is doing it as they can, but I mean, most of their stuff's coming from elsewhere. Eventually, you're going to see the United States follow suit and do this. Um, you will see jobs pop up because of this, but war's good for the economy, yes, but it's bad for everything else. Blue helmets on fence posts make awesome decoration. Yes, yes, they do, Mike. They're very good, I think, with sending a message. I don't know what you would do with the rainbow camo, folks. I wouldn't be buying any of it. Um, it's funny that it gets brought up on a hump day, and I'm sorry, Ink Scars just throwing a middle finger up at the UN. Just a random middle finger to the UN. Neil says, John, how are we supposed to get together as a community when we can't even look at one another in the store without seeing anger or hatred? I agree. We've got to learn to get along, but you have to understand mainstream media is there to make sure that we are not getting along. You know, um, we have some Democrats in chat right now, believe it or not, and that's okay. We agree on most things, and I think we would get along on most things. People don't always have to agree on everything. That's the beautiful part of it. But that kind of unity scares the ruling class, and they're not going to allow that. They're going to use everything in their power to divide people. This is why you constantly see race baiting online. This is constantly why you see, sexism and stuff like this online. The ruling class uses this against us. And I'll go one step further and say, even the prepping community here on YouTube can't always get along. It seems like there's always some kind of infighting. That's one of the many reasons I try and do my own thing. But if we're supposed to be in this group and we're supposed to be helping one another, why the infighting? We have the same end goal. You know what I mean? I've never really understood it. Drama, drama, drama. That's right, Kelly. I try not to do any of the drama. And it's so easy to avoid the drama. All you have to do is not care. You know, I don't care what anybody says about me or my channel, my desk that's always getting made fun of. I don't care. You know, if they're laughing at my desk or my shirt or my glasses or my tie, then they're not laughing at somebody else. And I can take it. I'm thick skinned. I really don't care. Truly don't care. Well, uh, Cloyo, that's hard to do in 2023. I can't understand why people can't discuss things in a civil manner. It's been several years of chaos, several years of people at each other's throats, the pandemic locking everybody down. People are pissed about that. You know, you're locked in, you're home for 2 years, getting race baited on the TV. I mean, people are just angry by nature, I think. There is a lot of that too, VR Lab Girl. There's even drama in the homesteading community. Just do your thing and being you. Um, and they're bigger channels. And I happen to like, both of the channels that seem to be involved right now. I like all the creators involved. I don't understand the drama, where it came from, how it helps anything at all. But people are drawn to it. I mean, that's no lie. You can post a video with drama in it and people are attracted to it, and I don't know why. Seems like a huge waste of time to me. And I ain't got the time to waste. I really don't. Thank you very much, Melissa Dodd. I appreciate that, and I appreciate you being here. Zombie, you'd have to ask him in chat if there's some new stuff going on in the homesteading community. I don't know. I don't follow a lot of the homesteading channels. I mostly follow prepping and bushcrafting and retro video game channels, folks. Yes, I'm huge into retro video games, the old school stuff. And then I follow some military historians and stuff that are on YouTube that are really good. I may actually put it in community section or something, either a list or a couple of videos or something by these military historians and they really do a great job of breaking down what's going on in Ukraine right now. Mist was a good game, but I'm talking about even older than that. Yeah, Big T, hold on. No, I'm not ignoring Big T. Oh, yeah, fish sticks and Tootsie Rolls. No, I don't like either one, Big T. Uh, I'm gonna end with that. Slee Stack, StarCraft. StarCraft is like this black hole that pulled me in for a couple of years now. I could not get away from it. This is right after high school, man. I almost lost my job over this. I think I lost a relationship over this with a lady. It's just that game sucked me in big time, and I can't go back to it. God bless you to the seventh hour, and thank you for the support. Thank y'all for being here this morning, everybody. Maybe consider shooting a thumbs up or hitting subscribe. That really helps the channel. We'll be live tomorrow morning. Until then, enjoy your hump day and God bless.